This is Goodbye Nothing to Say by Nosmo King and the Javells, and I actually was Nosmo King. And how that happened was when the Truth split up, I'd spent a couple of years in the wilderness, then started writing songs with a guy called Marshall Doctors. And we signed to Roger Greenaway and Roger Cook for publishing, and we released an album called Stephen Jameson on the Pie record label. And then we recorded 2 tracks. It must have been in something like March '74. One of the tracks was, well, it wasn't called Goodbye Nothing, so it was called Goodbye, and it was the B-side of a kind of spoof 50s kind of rock and roll thing called Teenage Love. And I wouldn't know a hit if it hit me in the head. So we put out Teenage Love as the A-side, and it didn't happen. And then some bright spark, about 6 months later at Pie Records, they'd set up a label called Disco Demand, Pie Disco Demand. And it was Barry Manstoff and Dave McAleer went through every record that they could find, and they found Goodbye Nothing to Say. And they sent out something like 6 white label copies under the name of the Javells, which didn't exist. And the idea was to tell the Wigan Casino, the Twisted Wheel in Manchester, and the Blackpool Mecca that this was an American record that they were hoping to get the rights of. What do you think of it? Everybody loved it. And we had a hit record.
There's no other way. But you couldn't see all the hurt you were doing to me now. There's nothing to say, just goodbye. There's no other way. I know I loved you, but you couldn't see all the hurt you.
The Javells actually didn't exist as such. The people on the session who really were the Javells were Irene and Doreen Chanter, the Chanter sisters, along with Tony Burrows, who was on a million hits. I think he did Top of the Pops one night, and he was actually in 3 different acts. And that was the only time they did that. They stopped him doing it after that. The record came out, obviously, as Nosmo King and the Javells in the October '74. I was had a day job at the time in sales in a fashion company, and the record was released on the Friday. On the Tuesday, I got a call from Roger Greenaway, and he said, the record's just gone in the charts at 54, and you're on Top of the Pops tomorrow. And I told him I was for a day off of work. And the boss said, why? And I said, well, I'm on Top of the Pops. He said, what, you're dancing? And I no, I'm actually singing on Top of the I'm not in the audience. And we had a top 30 record, and I was on the road for a couple of years. And it was about, I think, 1976, and this is always a little bit of point of contention, I think is the word, isn't it? People say, oh, there was another record out, it sounded very much like yours. And there was, and then it was a chicken and egg, who came first? Well, Goodbye Nothing to Say came out in October 7, 1974. In January, February 1976, a record came out called Get Right Back Where We Started From by a wonderful she was an English singer called Maxine Nightingale, and the song was written by J. Vincent Edward and Pierre Tubbs, and basically they nicked our song, so we sued them, and it didn't go to court because they settled out of court. The only thing we didn't know was they had a bigger hit than we did. We got to 26 or 27. I think I'm not sure if they got to 8 or 13, but they had a #1 in America.
You were doing to me now.